I don't know if you know this, but we saw a little prototype the other day. We did this whole interview with Rob.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, he's such a smooth operator. He like goes into his pocket at the end of the interview and pulls out this like pink Mindright bar. And it was kind of a crazy way to end the episode because we went into so many different directions. I don't know if he told you that.
Yeah, he told me everything. You know, it's funny because we knew that we both were going to come on the show separately. And I said, hey, it would be amazing to present Lauren and Michael with a product that fits them really well.
Oh, it's your idea.
Oh, yeah. Did he take credit for it?
I don't know. We gotta go review the tape.
Rob, did you take credit for it?
Rob, I'm gonna go review the tape. We'll see.
We'll see.
You presented us with that product, and the whole interview I was telling you off air, I was floored at how strategic and smart, elevated, I mean, just so many nice things that Rob was on the show. It was one of my favorite interviews, and I was so excited to interview you because I want to know how you approached him and pitched him. Like, tell us what the pitch was for Mindright.
Honestly, when I first met him, we were introduced through a friend. And I had never met Rob. He's like, Rob Dyrdek's running this venture studio. He's building brands. He's looking for operators, people that have had experience doing these things before. I think you guys would have a lot to talk about. So I made the appointment, and I'm going to see Rob Dyrdek. I mean, like, you grow up watching Robin Big and Fantasy Factory and Ridiculousness, and it's like pretty big deal. And he walks in, big, hand slap, high five, hug. Come on in, sit down. I want to hear everything about you from the day you left your mother's womb till you sat down in this chair. And I'm like, oh man, don't get me started. And I literally sat there talking about myself for almost an hour. And when I went to that first meeting with him, I had brought a company that I had been working on for some time that I was exiting my role as CEO. I was moving on to do some consulting to, get a better headspace on what I was doing. I wasn't happy with where I was at. I was in a really bad mental place. And that's kind of how the journey started.
Was it because that business had like burned you out, or just?
It burned me out. It was, I invested a lot of money, a lot of our family's money into this business. I learned major lessons in partnerships and how to partner with the right people and avoiding the wrong partnerships. And I think, like, I look back and, I have a relationship with most of the people that I partner with, but it's better today than it was while in it. But it was toxic and just completely taxing on me mentally, physically. I was 30 pounds overweight. I was not being a good husband. I was not being a good father. I got 4 kids. That's my number one priority, is being a good husband and a father. And I wasn't. It was bad. So I had to take that hard decision where I put all of my family's, hard-earned money into this business, ran it for 3 years. We had great growth, but couldn't sustain the funding, partnerships, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, pulling money out of the business when it should have been in the business, growing and helping with sell-through and things like that. So I digress. So I meet Rob and I take with me the brand. I take a couple products and I'm like, at the very least, maybe he's interested in investing in this as I'm exiting. And I tell him my whole story. I'm there for, hour, about 5 minutes left. I'm like, oh, by the way, this is Buff Bake, and I want to introduce you to this product, and it's, better for you snacking, protein. And he tries one. He's like, I like the product. He's like, but I really like you. I think there's something that we could do together. He's like, come back with an idea. Okay. So he he planted the seed for me to come back with an idea. And I was so excited that I went back and I came up with a couple fun concepts, and nothing that really was earth shattering, groundbreaking, but things that I thought he might be interested in. And one was something that you've recently been part of, a vegan cookie dough. And I built the concept and I came into him, but I just, in my heart, I was like, it doesn't fit me. Like, it doesn't fit my lifestyle. There's no need state here. It's just another cookie or another healthy snack. And
you weren't going to be the end consumer.
No, I wasn't the end consumer. And because I'm not vegan, but I if it tasted good, I would eat it. But I wasn't the end consumer. And when I pitched him, my heart wasn't in it. I knew it just wasn't it wasn't the thing. And so I left and I was a little disappointed in myself. And I got a text from his COO and he's like, it's in you. Bring it back. Take your time and bring it back. So he gave me a second chance to come back, which doesn't happen. So, Rob and I we're just building this relationship where it was becoming something. And that's something that I learned to really appreciate with him. So I went back and I just thought about the past year on how I had exited this business and how I turn my mental state around through diet, exercise, and finding nootropics. And I started dabbling with nootropics, and I started wondering, like, could you pair these with other superfoods that support brain health, specifically how you feel, mood, energy, and focus? And I started playing with it a little bit. I'm like, I think there's something here. And I took it to a friend of mine who I became friends with over the years. He works for a manufacturer. He does all the R&Ding for the manufacturing facility. So like, this guy sees everything. I brought him the concept, and he was like, this is really good. And he called me that night. He's like, I want in. He goes, I obviously I'll need to exit at some point because it's not right to the company, but I want in. So I knew there was something there. So I was like, all right, let me get to work. And we sat and just created this deck that just came together from, starting at the end. Like, what does this look like at the exit? And worked our way backwards. And it was just such a cool idea to put together this platform of products that supported your mood, energy, and focus. All the while focused on brain health.
And what were some of these ingredients that you had been experimenting with to kind of get your own mind right before?
Yeah, some of the like more entry level type nootropics. L-theanine, it's great for focus, calm state of alert. Love that. Ashwagandha reduces cortisol levels. Great for focus. Great for recovery. But really just creating a calmer state. And then some just more like, how do you get more antioxidants? Ginseng's loaded with antioxidants. Lion's mane, a really great one. Creates BDNF, crosses the blood-brain barrier, helps with neural pathways. Love lion's mane. And so like we just started experimenting. It was just came together so beautifully where I went back to Rob. I'm like, I got it. And he's like, let's book the appointment. I got it. And I went in and I had created with this food formulator, bars, nut butters, bites, coffee creamer. And it was like, it's really hard to formulate products, but we just did it so quickly because it just felt right and it tasted good. We led with taste. I went in with this silver big briefcase and it was like, it could have been strapped to my arm. Little theatrics for Rob because he really loved it. I put it on the table. I went through the presentation. He stands up at the end. He's like, that was amazing. He goes, I can't even believe the vision and how detailed you had everything laid out in your marketing plan and your strategy and all. He's like, I'm blown away. He goes, what's in the box? And then I turned it around and I had forgotten to open it. And I opened it. I'm like, these are the products. And he's like, oh, so like this is what it would look like? I'm like, no, these are like 95% finished formulation set for our group to start testing and doing some R&D with. And he's just blown away. So he looked at his COO and he looked back and he's like, I'm in. I want to be your partner in this. And, I'm going to invest up to X amount and then we'll see what happens and we'll go from there.
So what do you think, looking back now, what do you think the mistake most people, like so many people are looking for that idea or that thing and that, that concept to pitch and get funding for, that company to start. What do you think doing it kind of two different ways? What do you think the big pitfalls that people make are?
I think the biggest pitfall is creating something that has a unique selling position. Because, I want to start a gym. Okay, well, what's different about your gym? What sets you apart from everyone else? What is your unique selling position? And I think that's what people are looking for, right? Like you need a hook, you need something different. It can't be me too. It's got to be something extraordinary or different that fills someone's need. And I think, looking at trends, doing research was something that I was never, excited about. I never invested money because I thought it was a waste of money to do that. I'm like, no, this is a great product. It's going to work. It's going to, my friends love it. My family loves it. Friends and family are probably the worst people to talk to when building a business. I think you got to go to the source. You got to find your audience. And I think that's something that Rob stressed immensely in the beginning. He didn't want to do anything until we tested. And the findings were like shocking. Like I thought it was going to be about, enhanced performance and performance-based and cognition. And no. And I thought it was men. I thought it was going to be for men. And no, it was women was, 25 to 32 was our core demographic. She's into mindset, personal development. She's just got married. She's all about, leveling up and finding balance in her life. And I'm like, this is crazy. But the key factors that came out of it was, I want to feel good. I want to be energized. I want to be focused. If you could find products that support me in those areas. And that's how we kind of landed with mood, energy, and focus.
If someone's listening and they're like, I want to start a business, I have this idea. You talked about working backwards.
Yes.
What are your sort of bullets to work backwards? Like, do you start with, let's say you want to sell this company for $500 million.
Yeah.
You write that down and then you work back from there. What's the process like? I'd like to know for my own selfish self too.
For me, I think it's, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be, I want to exit this. I want to build something to exit it. It could be, I want a sustainable revenue source that's a profitable business that could be run for generations. For me, is I would like to sell this company at some point and put it in the hands of someone that could really take it to the next level and do something really cool with it, because I think it's an amazing platform. So for me with this, I would love to see an exit. I start thinking about, okay, who are the businesses out there that might be interested in something like this? Maybe it's a Mondelez or Unilever or Pepsi. What are they looking for? How are we building the business from a sales distribution point that would leave room for them to bring value? Because I can get it so far, but if I've already done the things that they're going to bring in to create value, then maybe they're not the right suitor. So it's building direct to consumer, Amazon, some of the more natural markets, and allow room for some of those bigger players to come in and build distribution, or maybe it's marketing or another channel where they bring value to that business.
So you think about it from the beginning and you say, okay, like eventually, like these are the metrics that we're going to hit to position it so that a company like that could come in and do what they do best. But in order for them to do that, we have to build this first part first,
right,
so that it's enticing for them to come in and say, hey, we can get this and we're going to buy it for 500, but after it's in our network and our distribution, it's worth $1 billion.
Exactly.
I just wonder, do you build this so the brands like the Pepsi that you're talking about approach you, or do you go and court them?
I think early stages, you court them. You let them know you're there. You let them know, you make some noise. I think it's beginning stages, you start relationships. And I've never said no to an early meeting, like whether or not we were going to take money from VC or private equity. I always take those meetings for the most part. And we start building relationships, and we let people know what's happening, where we're going. And, when we're there, we'll let you know.
How do you structure your day? Because Rob was very specific about his time.
Do you go in an egg?
No,
no egg for me.
But Rob has all these details that he told us about, and I'm just wondering if that has influenced your day. You have 4 children.
Yes.
Okay, so give us some tips. There's a lot of people listening that have a lot of kids, and they need the tips of how to execute businesses.
I think as an entrepreneur, number one, having the buy-in from your partner is really important, because when you make that choice, you're not on that roller coaster alone. You're bringing your entire family with you. So you need buy-in, right? I think having my wife, Maritza, just completely bought in and on board with, boundaries, of course, that we set, and making time for each other is really important. So I think for us, it's, getting up early is really important, because if I want any time for myself, I have to get up before the kids. And
what time?
I get up at 5, but now all of a sudden these little fuckers are getting up the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. So I just, after talking to, it was a slew of interviews we did, Rob being one of them. We were just in LA and we batched a bunch, and there was all of these high performers that came on, and they're like, and with kids, they're like, hey, I'm up early. And I started thinking about normally I'm up 6:30, 7. Yeah. But to your point, now we have 2 kids. And I'm like, I have no time unless I get up when nobody's running around in the house.
The problem with you 5:30 motherfuckers is this. I wake up at 7. He's bouncing off the walls like he just smoked a crack pipe. And I'm like, he's like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you matching my energy? And I'm like, I literally just opened my eyes.
He is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're a morning person.
Well, no, my dad was one of those guys when I was growing up. They were just walk in, slam the lights on, full blast, say, get up, like that. There was no I didn't heard I don't know, they pet her hair or put some meditation.
No, I like to be woken up like a cat.
So I've always been if my eyes are awake, I'm awake.
What's that like?
Like a cat. It's like I like a little bit of music, the light to come up. I like the sun to shine in. I like him to put the covers over me and pat my head. I just like a very soft wake up.
You can imagine
maybe some flutes.
If you grew up
some
the way
angels
I did,
with harps.
Yeah, in the beginning of our marriage, it was a contention because I was
You've
just
gotten
get up.
A little bit better. You did interrupt me during my meditation today for absolutely no reason, but that's a different story. Okay, so you wake up early. Go ahead.
Listen, all high performers, they get up early. It's
high performers.
You check the box. Listen, you guys are in it. You have young kids. It's different. My youngest is now 8. My baby's 8. So it's easier. He's on his own program and my oldest is 14. So she's on a whole other program. And, which by the way, it gets harder. I thought it was going to get easier. It gets harder. Just to...
Oh, stop. Don't even.
Sorry.
Chris. I can't.
Sorry.
I can't.
Don't tell us
Sorry.
that.
Okay.
We've been telling ourselves it's going to get easier, but
It gets easier, then it gets a little harder.
Oh, okay.
You guys are going to be fine. You guys.
So you wake
Okay,
up.
so get up. I do a quick prayer meditation. I'll read a little bit and then I'll go to the gym. So I'll read like 15 minutes of something just to kind of get moving. I'll go to the gym or for a run or for a walk. Maritza, my wife, she hogs the sauna. We got a sauna, which is a game changer. So by the way, I'm not allowed in the sauna with her anymore.
what happened there?
It's her alone time. She's still claustrophobic and just,
It's probably because you guys talk and talk and talk
We've
and
been
talk.
up since 5 in the
No,
morning.
but you guys talk your whole
So-
thoughts out. It's like a scroll.
It is.
Yep.
So that's her time. I give her time. She needs her space. I give her space. So gym, come back. The kids are rocking and rolling. They're getting dressed. And then it's make lunches. And then I drive them to school. Maritza does the pickups. And then it's off to work. I'm there by 9. First calls by 10. I try to like not schedule calls until 10. Just to kind of give me a little time to get prepped and ready to go. And it works for me.
I agree with that tip, by the way. There's nothing worse than looking at your schedule and having a 9 a.m. call. When I feel like you don't have your bearings together.
Yeah.
It's so much better to have a midday call.
Yeah, we were talking about Texas. Like one of the best things is, so we have office here and then we have people on the East
Yeah.
Coast. So being here, like by the time it's 11 a.m. here, I've gotten all this, and like the company or the team over there is just getting in the office at like 9. So I'm like,
That is a big plus.
It's a
you
huge
know,
thing.
Huge plus.
you're from New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah.
You know that.
and in New York,
But-
you're only an hour behind, which is not that bad, but 3 hours behind, as you know, that's
Yeah,
challenging.
you're catching up. Yeah, living in California is harder.
It is harder. You mentioned earlier about before you started Mindright, you had another business, and
Yeah.
you said that you weren't a good husband and you weren't a good dad. What do you mean by that, and how have you changed since launching Mindright?
I mean, when I say it wasn't good, I wasn't giving them what they needed, right? Like I'm always stressed. It was about me and how I felt, and they're living in my world in an unfair way. I wasn't at every practice, or I wasn't as patient as I could be with their, fraction homework or whatever it was. And then for me and Maritza, she is very specific with what her love language is. If we want to
What's her
get
love
into
language? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please, please.
Well,
What's the
Laura
love
tries to
language?
take all the languages.
Yeah,
so
I'm
that's
all. What's hers?
it's quality time.
Quality time. And so you weren't hitting that.
No, because I thought I'm a giver, and I do a lot, and I'm there for the kids, and I pick ups, and I'm like, okay, I'm giving her time and space, and I'm taking care of a lot of things, but that's not what she needs. She needs to spend time with me, one-on-one, no phone, no work. And it's just like, it took me a really long time to understand that that's what she needs, and that's what I need to do to make her happy. And it works.
what was your childhood like? When your parents gave you love
Yeah.
and affection, what did that look like?
I had kind of a tough childhood. I grew up with single mom. My dad was actually incarcerated for the majority of my life. I was the kid growing up that was always making excuses why his dad wasn't there. So I had to watch my mom just grind, just work really hard to keep our life stable. But it created this really scarcity mindset, fear mindset that at any minute the bottom was going to fall out. And it's something that actually hurt me for a long time, because I live my life like that. Like, okay, I'm not going to have any more money after this, or I'm going to lose it, or I'm not going to have it, or we got to keep paying for the house, or this is going to happen. And I lived this life of fear, and I let it creep into my business and my marriage with Maritza, because I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know that I could be more and have an abundant life and think about, things and investments as opportunities rather than possible failures.
Yeah, the
I kept
reason
thinking about it the wrong way.
the reason I ask is because if that was maybe how your mother was, maybe that's how you interpreted love, was she was out there providing and working for you. And so in a way you're doing the same thing, thinking that's what you're supposed to do as an adult. We talk about this all the time on the show. Well, I mean, listen, the reason being is we've done so many of these, and as I've gotten older, I start to think about like how much the way I was parented or my childhood looked like affects you as an adult.
What did your parents do that you think that your love language?
Well, I think the same thing is like I grew up with a working mom as well and a dad, and like, and they were, and I also grew up in a time I remember being like 3 years old, and my dad was in real estate, and that's when the 90s happened, you know, and it's like the bottom fell out. And I remember like maybe like subconsciously, like they were so stressed at that time because they were probably like, hey, we got 2 kids, we're barely hanging on. And, you know, I would remember my mom coming home at like 10 or 11 at night working. And so I think like part of that in my early years translated into like that scarcity, you know, mindset, because like, this is how I've got to compensate and overperform, because you feel like, again, the bottom could fall at any time. And it's funny because my sister, both my sisters are 3 years younger and then 9 years younger, and they grew up in a completely different circumstance. Like my parents started doing well again and everything was fine. And so like they're, in a way, even though we had the same childhood, it was a different era with different like financial means. And like, they don't have any of that kind of stress. So it took me a while to figure out, which is why I asked you.
What is it like having a father who's incarcerated? Was he incarcerated your entire childhood? I mean, that's intense.
It was intense. From the age of 10 till I graduated.
Oh, so that's not
college.
That's not like young. I mean, it's young. 10 years is young, but I mean, you had 10 years with your dad before that happened.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's,
which almost is more intense because it's like you have him and then he's taken away. That's almost crazier, because if you're a baby and your dad's incarcerated, then you don't really know any different.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard because, you know, my fondest memories of growing up were playing hockey and seeing my dad in the stands, and I still remember like those images really vividly. And then when that whole thing happened, I just kept moving forward. Like, he'd call once or twice a week. You have a collect call from so-and-so from Waco, Texas. That. And it was just, I just moved forward and I accepted that relationship as it was. And it was funny, I just kept going forward. For my brother, it was different. It was really hard for him. And to this day, I think he's got a lot of issues because
older or younger?
He's younger. And I think he was younger, and obviously it was younger when it occurred. Maybe I just was in a different place and I locked into different memories, or it's who I am. You know, I move forward. I just keep moving forward.
What were the circumstances of him being incarcerated? And the reason I ask is was this like a violent crime? Was this something? Oh, what, so no, it was just something he got pinched for?
Fraudulent. Like, you know, he was actually an entrepreneur himself and just tried to take the easy way. And I learned lessons from that. There's no easy way to do anything. But in
a way that's even maybe harder, because you probably the reason I asked, like, was it something violent? Is like, maybe like, hey, this guy's not being a good guy. But in this, like, maybe this guy took a chance that he shouldn't have, and then he's away and he's out of his kid's life, and you know, that probably
that's
him.
Exactly what happened.
The younger one, what I've seen with any kind of trauma, I think it's easier for the older one because they've had the parent longer, maybe.
Yeah.
I noticed that with the younger. That's sort of what happened with my sister too. I could tell like it affected her more than it did me because I was older.
Yeah.
So when your dad finally came out, was it back to normal for you, or was it hard for you?
It was back to normal. You know, I live in that present and I just took the best of it. Probably could have spent more time. Like I was 21, 22. My life was just getting going. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. I just graduated college, and he was living in the city. I was in Westchester, which is just north of the city, New York. Sorry, I was the city. I always assume everyone just knows what the city is. And we get together as much as we could, and he was great. I mean, he still could not let go of like trying to get back to the top and where he was, and I'm like, Dad, just relax and live your life. Like, let's just enjoy time together. And you don't have that much time left. Because he was an older guy. He was my mom's second marriage, so he was older. And I think he got out in his 60, 65. We had 10 good years together, and then he passed when he was 75 with cancer.
Rough.
Yeah.
Do you think that part of the reason that you wanted to focus so much on mental health has anything to do with that, or is it completely separated? And what is the mental health aspect of this?
Yeah, for me, it was, the trauma of that last investment where, but prior to that, I had done really well. I owned agencies and I was in the action sport business and I'd done really, really well.
So you'd always been an operator?
Always been an operator. And I had built this amazing little enterprise within action sports of this sales and marketing agency. And it was just the most fun you could ever imagine, selling snowboards and all apparel and things like that. And we had a great team and I ended up exiting that business. And the next day I took money and I invested in this other business without taking a moment to pause and think about what's next. How do I really want to think about what I want to do? I got excited. I didn't show pause or, concern for how it would affect everyone around me. And I jumped in. Big mistake.
I want to talk about that because I think I have seen a lot of our really successful friends hit it big with something. Like they'll hit it so big with this one thing, like an internet business. And then they'll make the money and then immediately they have to go get a restaurant or a bar or put all their money somewhere.
Or a new business or whatever.
And what I've noticed is that this syndrome, and I need to make a name from it.
Yeah.
It's almost like because you have had one big hit, you think everything else you're going to touch turns to gold and there's no pause and reflection.
Yeah.
What would you advise someone who has just hit it big or maybe just got did well, gambling, stock market, whatever it is? What would you advise them?
Yeah, I think it's the pause. I think it's taking a deep breath, taking a step back. What made you successful? Start, let things happen, let them develop over time and, take your time before you make that next step because it's not, every business requires 100 different things to happen in order for it to be successful. And I think I thought I could take what I did in action sports to CPG and foods. And I did, but there was the outlying factor, which was, I just wasn't in the right partnership with the right group that could take it to the next level. And that was something that was completely out of my control.
If someone's out there listening and they have a scarcity mindset, how did you switch your scarcity mindset to abundant? What are tools? Are you reading books? Are you, using wellness hacks? Like, what are your tools that you go to?
One of the things that helped me was really starting to surround myself with people that had been successful, that had either gone through challenges and overcome them, or just live at this another frequency like a Rob. Rob is a great resource for me personally because anytime the scaries start to creep in and my energy starts to go down or I start any form of doubt, whether it's little or small, a phone call with Rob, it's just like recharges your batteries and you're just like, you're back. So it's finding people like Rob to put in your life that just are pluses. He's a constant plus and it just recharges your mindset on anything is possible. And he's a perfect example of that.
What are some tips that he gives you when he talks to you? What's the pep talk look like?
I mean, he gives you grace, right? Like you could be a high performer and you got to grind, you got to do this, but like he'll be the first one to tell me like, it's okay. You're in it right now. You're in it. I'm through all of that. And I can afford this ability to have this type of discipline. And you know what? If you're doing a million things and you have to slip and have a cheeseburger because it makes you feel better, don't beat yourself up. And he's just the constant coach. Like, it's okay. You're in it and you're in it. And when you're out of it, you focus on the next thing, which is creating that discipline that helps you to maintain the further goals of your lifestyle.
I think, a lot of people feel like they have to do all this kind of crazy networking, or they feel like, hey, I'm never going to meet this kind of like Rob or Chris or whoever it is. They feel like they don't have access to these people. And what I try to remind them is like, you don't, not everybody starts with access, right?
Right.
Are there things that you've done in your life as an entrepreneur that have put you in a better position to get access to people like Rob or some other your previous business partners or investors? Because, I've never personally been the guy that's at like the networking events and the cocktail and like standing there in a weird collared shirt to, hopefully get someone's business. But I've always kind of figured a way to, talk to the right people, at least at the time. And I wonder if you've thought about that at all.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot, especially my career in action sports. The biggest brand that we represented was Burton Snowboards, and it was run and owned by a family, the Carpenters. Jake Burton was the owner. And that first year with the company, I realized like that relationship with Jake, if I could get to that point where I had one with him, would propel what I was doing in my business. And I spent time, thoughtfully thinking about, access to him, providing value to him, sending him emails where I knew need to be a response, putting myself in his world, and ultimately, you become part of his inner circle, and that helped me in that career. With other things, I think it's like, buyers, or, you're trying to get into Whole Foods or Vitamin Shop. It's what are the tips and tricks to get to that buyer, or, working your way through LinkedIn, finding, other people that are connected, looking for introductions.
And when you say like emails that people need to respond to, is there, because I think a lot of mistakes people make, at least this is how I feel about it, is a lot of people come in right away with an ask.
Yeah. It's never an ask. It's always provide value. What do you think about this? Open-ended that needs a response that, like, if you're a pretty humble human being, you're going to respond because it would be rude not to. So just leaving those open-ended responses, I think, are really important.
Yeah, because I get 1,000 LinkedIn messages, and it's like so many. It's just like an ask, and then they bump and say, "Hey," politely bumping, and it's like, well, you're coming in out of nowhere with some kind of crazy ask, and it kind of puts the burden on the person as opposed to like coming in with value first.
So then with Rob, Rob was my it was this gateway that opened everything up in my mind. Like literally anything is possible. Rob Dyrdek just partnered with me, put a lot of money in here, believes in me, believes in what I want to build. We could fucking do anything. So next thing I know, now so when Rob invested, the concept was, let's build the brand, because when I brought it to him, it was called Feed Your Brain. It was not Mindright. It was just Feed Your Brain. It was a working title. So we went out, we said, okay, we're going to use this money to build the brand. We're going to do research. We're going to get ready to the point where we're ready to stand this thing up and push it out to the world. And then we'll make a decision whether or not we really want to do that. Let's see where we get. Okay. I can dedicate a year of my life to doing that. And I had no doubt that we were going to make it. So we got to that point, and we were both so ecstatic with how things turned out. And the product looked great. It was tasting great. We made sure we had scalability in the product. Like, if this thing goes, can we support it? Can we support it both from product, from the supply chain? And all the pieces were there. And then we needed to raise money. We need more because, Rob was a great investor, but he's like, who else can we bring in that will bring strategic value? And so I put my network on the line first. And there's a lot of private equity guys that I, either taken money from in the past through the other businesses, or, that I've spoken with. And I'm just like, I don't want to take money from private equity or VC because they always want to control the process or the product or the direction. And I didn't want to do that this time. Rob, to me, was like, this is something that we can do without them.
Speak to that a bit, because again, I think you read so much, or you have been reading so much in the press, maybe it's a little different right now, but about taking VC money or private equity money. Yep. And I think a lot of young people that have not founded a business before, they think I got to go and pitch these people and get this kind of money. But I want you to maybe speak on some of the strings that come along with some of that kind of money.
So the first one is what I just mentioned. Like, a lot of times they'll see a path for your product that might not align with how you envision your product, the direction, the ingredients, the distribution channel, or the products themselves. Maybe, we've got chips and bars, and you got to get rid of the bars. That category is just, it's a mess. You don't want to be, you don't want to be part of that. And the next thing you know, we walked away from, $8 million revenue stream that now I have to make up with another product that they're left me holding the bag, and I've got to figure out how to grow. The second thing is growth. They want hockey stick growth all the time, and they want it to be profitable. It's just really hard to do that in the first couple of years of your business. It's a lot of pressure to be under. And then
and they don't care what the cash burn is. They just want you to grow top line as fast as possible.
Grow top line as fast as you can. Yeah.
When I was pitching my brand, Skinny Confidential, before I launched it, I was pitching ice rollers to these guys in suits, and they were like, no one's going to use a roller on their face. And I was
keep in mind, a lot of these guys were like puffy, old, inflamed guys.
No, I was like, you literally need lymphatic drainage immediately. First of all, everyone's going to use a roller on their face. But can you speak to people that just are committed to saying no when they don't really understand the market? I'm sure you've had a lot of no's.
A lot of no's.
Because whenever someone says they get a fuck yes, I know there's a lot of no's behind that.
There's a million no's before the first one yes. And the last thing I would mention too is private equity and VC. It doesn't always come at a value. I think there's a big disadvantage, and you're probably going to give away a lot more than you would with a family fund or friends and family round or other strategics outside of VC. So other paths are, if you've got a great product, and this is a great way to know if you have a great product, is go to your manufacturer. See if he'll invest. If he's going to invest in you because he believes in your product, he's doing this shit for a ton of other people, you've got something. You've got something exciting. So I'd look at your manufacturers. I'd look at your ingredient and your supply chain. All those guys are doing really well, and they see a lot of businesses, and they're open to exploring ways to grow their business. And if they can get in early with something that they believe in, it's a great possibility, and you're going to get it at value. And now you've got
somebody who's vested in helping you grow your business too.
But you're building margin. You're building a better scale in your business.
There's a lot of millennials listening. Let's say they want to build a business. What are some mistakes that you're seeing people who start out? You obviously have been around the block. You have history. You've seen things that work, that stick, that don't stick. What are some things you see people doing wrong?
I think a lot of people try to get too far ahead too fast. Go slow. It's fine. Going slow is totally acceptable.
It took me 4 years to launch my product.
Yeah, that's
4 years.
And how's it doing?
It's doing good.
Okay.
It's doing good. But it did take 4 years of nothing. I mean, working on it. So patience is underestimated.
Patience is underestimated. I think taking your time is really important. Don't burden yourself with the pressure of more. I got to do this, social media, influencers. One thing at a time, one step at a time, day by day, just build it slow. Okay? Slow and steady. The next thing is research. I said in the beginning, I never really believed or valued market research, understanding your audience. It was a game changer for us. Like, it completely changed the brand, our direction. And even when we did it in the beginning, and it was a real sticking point for Rob, and I'm so glad he did it, was we didn't follow it. We didn't live by it. And then we ended up doing more market research. And guess what? We learned the same things that we had learned in the beginning. So now it's like we live and die by our market research and our audience. This is who we're talking to. We know her name. We know what she looks like. We know what she likes. And then whenever we make a decision, we say, by the way, our audience person her name is Sarah Avia. Will Sarah like this?
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah. So will Sarah like this? And it guides a lot of our decision. I think the market research and audience data is really important.
And if anyone's listening and you don't have money to do market research, here's my advice. You can create content and content market before you launch a product. So say you don't have funds to market research. Like, what I chose to do was I chose to just create a lot of content and find the Sarah through the content by talking directly to the audience before I launched products. So people who are like, well, I don't have money for market research, then start creating the content, put it out there, see what sticks, and actually talk to the audience. How do you guys make sure that what you're creating the audience loves? Are you in communication with them? Yeah. Are you doing like studies? What do you guys do? What's the back end?
Yeah, it's all of it. It's traditional market research studies, those are expensive. And that's a great point. I think going out, using social media, surveys, survey monkeys through your email. I think, understanding early sales, who's purchasing this product, why they're purchasing this product. In the early days, I'd reach out with an email or a phone call, like a crazy person, like, hey, it's Bernie. You just bought this bar from us, and I'd love to know what you think. And we start getting some research from that, and it started to pay off. We learned a lot in the early days. We're still learning a lot.
If you were to give our audience one piece of advice when it comes to launching a brand from scratch, what would it be?
There's so many different things. R&D, if you're thinking about CPG in this space, I think R&D is very expensive, but learning some tips and tricks around that are important. One of the things that I would share with everyone out there is that every ingredient supplier out there in this space has some type of formulation team, and they will formulate products for you in exchange for you using their ingredients in your product.
6 million years ago, when I first launched my blog, I tried to make my juice cleanse idea come to life. This is like literally 1 year into blogging.
I forgot about that.
And I got set up with a really spammy company that wanted to charge all this money to create this juice cleanse. This is like literally 13 years ago. Is what do you have to avoid in the food industry when it comes to people like kind of like snake oiling you?
I mean, transparency around ingredients, knowing where they're coming from, who's making them, where they're being manufactured. There's a lot of manufacturers in the US, but they're buying from Thailand and all these other strange places. I think understanding the supply chain is really important. And I think just having a grasp on, what's most important to you, and does that person align?
What's the product that everyone should try from Mindright?
I mean, we just launched these chips. They're delicious. They are, when we first set out to start this business.
Cinnamon churro? Oh, man.
Those are a little decadent, but then we've got a chili lime and turmeric ranch. When we first set out, it was picking some superfoods, whether it be nuts, coconut, all traditional blueberries, and pairing them with other nootropics, ashwagandha, lion's mane, things like that. It became, what it is today is it's not just about putting things in. It's about what's in our foods today that are causing us to feel like shit. Toxic seed oils, processing aids, maltodextrin, preservatives, artificial flavors. You turn over a bag of Doritos, it's scary. It's just some scary stuff in there. MSG, artificial color, dye yellow 6, red 14, whatever. There's so much stuff in there that doesn't really need to be there. So we started looking at that, and it's driving the future of where we want to go with the products. It's really being conscious about what we're taking out. And now, it's not just the nootropics that are going in. It's what are the things that we're missing? What are the nutritional gaps in our diet that we're missing? Most Americans are magnesium deficient. It's a big topic. We always talk about it. And it's finding magnesium-rich ingredients that we can, source from nature. Marine magnesium is amazing. We're starting to work with some of that. And we've got plans, and that was in your bar, by the way.
My bar was good.
Your bar was good.
Damn good.
It was loaded polyphenols,
So
understanding like antioxidants and getting really focused in on anti-aging and neural pathways and how to feel better from the foods that we eat.
And these chips have garlic powder, onion powder. They have lion's mane, ginseng extract.
Yeah.
I mean, this
They're
is
delicious.
Legit. This needs to replace
B12, L-theanine.
Doritos. And I mean, I love flaming hot Cheetos more than anything, but the second that I eat one, I want 600. Why is that? It's because it's addicting shit in it.
MSG.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to switch over to turmeric ranch.
We'll make you a flaming hot.
I can't make me a flame. If you make me a flaming hot.
I got you.
Can we do a giveaway for all of your favorite products
Let's
to
do
one
it.
audience member?
Let's do it.
Okay, you guys, all you have to do is tell us your takeaway from this episode on my latest Instagram at Lauren Bostic, and follow at Get Mindright on Instagram.
Yep.
And we'll send you like a huge goodie bag situation so you can try all of these brain
Chips,
foods.
bars, all sorts of stuff.
Chips, food, all the different kinds of things. And definitely listen to that podcast with Rob so you can also get context of how you guys met. He talked about that a lot. You two together seem like a dynamic duo.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find the company? Where can they shop? Pimp yourself out.
Yeah, getmindright.com. All the products are available there. We're also available on Amazon. And then we're making our way to retail. Sprouts nationwide right now.
Awesome.
If you're on the West Coast, Gelson's, Central Market, soon to be H-E-B.
And it's made with 100% avocado
No
oil.
seed
I love
oils.
to see it. Make me
No
a flaming
seed
hot.
These
got
seed
you.
oils are getting people.
The
They
seed
get
oils
people.
are getting
A lot of people talk about sugar and it's like the big bad wolf, but it's really, there's so many other things that are just causing more harm in your gut. And we're really focused on that gut-brain connection.
You guys, the chili lime pop chips and the turmeric ranch pop chips, yum.
I don't know, Lauren. Might be the cinnamon churro.
Thank you, Bernie, for coming on. You're amazing.
My
And next time you and Rob have to come on together and you guys can recreate the
man.
pitch.
Oh, God.
You probably were nervous of that.
We might need an extra hour for
Oh
that
my
one.
God. I
Yeah.
would have had to like take a Xanax
No.
to make sure I was right.
I
Thanks,
might have.
Bernie.
I might have.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you, guys.